Prince George, who is only 8 years old, is already behaving in ways that are consistent with the role of royal leader he is destined to play. An unnamed royal insider provided an update on Prince George and his relationship with his younger siblings, Princess Charlotte 7 and Prince Louis 4, to US Weekly, and that George is very protective of his younger siblings. As the oldest child of Prince William and Catherine, he prepares to celebrate his 9th birthday on Friday. In an interview for the latest edition of US Weekly, sources close to the royal family gave an inside look at the life of George alongside his siblings Charlotte and Louis, also commenting on his already king-like comportment. According to the source, he is very protective of his younger siblings and goes out of his way to help his mother with the household chores, especially when it earns him extra time on electronics. It is well known that the young prince has a close relationship with his younger siblings. Numerous images show the royal family having fun together, and it has been stated that Princess Charlotte and Prince George have a lot of fun when they are allowed to run around outside together. It is reported that Prince George is a hard worker and that he is at the top of his class, despite the fact that, like many youngsters his age, he may occasionally require a nudge to keep him on track. He follows in his father's footsteps by being an ardent sports lover, which is something that he and Prince William share in common. His father was a rugby player, and it seems his enthusiasm for the game has been passed down to his son. The outsider went on to say that he is very sociable and that he can chat for hours about his favourite soccer players, as well as the fact that he loves rugby, cricket, and really all forms of sport. He is unquestionably like his father's son. It's not just their physical resemblance, they share a great deal of the same interests and hobbies, even helicopters. The Duke of Cambridge has already discussed how much he and his kids enjoy playing football, and he encourages them to cheer for their favourite teams, even if it means that one day those teams may compete against each other. US Weekly was informed by a separate source in the past that the young prince was aware that he was destined to become king in the future and that he has adapted well to the responsibilities of the role. According to the insider, he has grown leaps and bounds in confidence over the course of the past couple of years. He is confident, self-assured, and aware of what he wants, and he does not hold back when it comes to expressing his thoughts. His individuality is really beginning to peek through now. In addition, they stated that Prince George is already demonstrating that he possesses the qualities necessary to become the future King of England. Catherine and William don't want to see their son grow up too quickly, despite the fact that he will have significant duties in his future career. They are doing all in their power to provide him with a childhood as close to typical as they can, and it seems to be paying off. He's such a lovable, down-to-earth little boy. The young prince reportedly borrows his history books from his father and loves to hear stories about his ancestors. Sources say he is interested in the history of the Commonwealth nations, as well as the UK. Prince George made headlines after he covered his face in embarrassment at his little brother, Prince Louis, when he squirmed and pulled faces at his great-grandmother's Platinum Jubilee. However, always the good sport, the young prince is seen smiling at his younger brother's antics. In other news of Prince George, royal expert Natalie Oliveri claims that William and Catherine's eldest son is not an average child, as she discussed the recent appearances of the royal family member. Prince George, who attended his first ever Wimbledon match this month, despite the young royal notably being a little shy, he did appear to break one royal rule while seated in the royal box alongside his parents. Dressed in a suit and tie, despite the heat, the soon-to-be 9-year-old was a far cry from other children at such events. According to what Ms. Oliveri has written, Prince George of Cambridge is not your typical child. In point of fact, the fact that he was there in the royal box at all was only made possible due to the fact that he is destined to become King of England. And if there were any doubts about that, just look at his recent appearance alongside his mum and dad, Prince William and Catherine. The expert continues. At Wimbledon, it was the Duchess of Cambridge who insisted that her son wear the formal attire to Wembley Stadium rather than a Team England jersey and jeans, according to tennis star Marion Bartoli, who met with Catherine before the tennis matches at Wimbledon. According to Ms. Bartoli's interview with BBC Radio 5, the Duchess and she discussed very much a discussion whether George will be allowed to wear the jersey. While they were having afternoon tea together, she continued by saying William was for it, but Catherine was not so keen. At both matches, including the final when England was ultimately defeated by Italy, Prince George looked like a mini William in his suit and official Football Association tie. Royal author and former royal editor of The Sun, Duncan Larcombe, said the choice of clothing was part of George's gradual introduction to his future. Mr. Larcombe explained, she was showing George that being on duty requires a different approach. He has to learn to don the royal armour. The Cambridge children provided a glimpse of their passion for music last month when they joined their parents on a tour of Wales as part of the celebrations for Queen Elizabeth's Platinum Jubilee. Prince George and Princess Charlotte accompanied their parents on the tour. Catherine divulged the information that George is learning to play the electric guitar and Charlotte has been working on her piano skills. George and Charlotte experienced a first when they joined William and Catherine for an afternoon in Wales during the Jubilee. This was a significant step for the Cambridge children, as their parents will be the next Prince and Princess of Wales, after Prince Charles, who currently holds the title of Prince of Wales until he is crowned king. George and Charlotte were able to attend the memorial ceremony for their great-grandfather Prince Philip at Westminster Abbey in March, after being prevented from attending the funeral of their great-grandfather Prince Philip last year due to stringent COVID-19 rules. They also attended the Easter Sunday service at Windsor Castle in April, alongside William and Catherine. Miss Oliveri was quoted as saying, despite all of George's efforts to advance his position, he is still a child. Despite the fact that he is sitting among grown-ups in the royal box at Wimbledon and wearing a suit and tie, George was caught on camera complaining about the heat and picking his nose. It is very evident that additional preparation must be made before the young Prince George of Cambridge is crowned King George the 16th.